Hey, it's Soul, and today we're going to go over some general information about horrific visions in patch 11.1.5. It's not the first time we're seeing horrific visions. In fact, a lot of the bones of this feature are intact. However, it's been a while, and there have been significant changes, and there are many players who've never bothered with them or weren't around for Battle for Azeroth. So this video is going to forget the past and give horrific visions a fresh take as if it's a new feature for the War Within. There are a lot of parts to it, so as said, this is just a general information guide. More in-depth stuff and an actual walkthrough of the two maps that will come in the near future. Please like the video, subscribe for more WoW coverage, and catch me whenever I'm live. Horrific Visions are a mix of delves, but with a roguelike, meta progression experience you can run solo or with a group. I'm mostly going to be talking from the solo point of view. The delve-like stages are huge. They're warped forms of Orgrimmar and Stormwind. There's a main objective to defeat the main boss, who's a twisted version of either Thrall or Ilaria, after which the game ends and you're taken to a room with a chest full of goodies. The chest gets better and more of them appear if you happen to also defeat any of 4 mini-bosses dotted throughout the stage, and you get the best reward if you defeat all 4 and then the final boss. And the rewards grow still when you increase the difficulty after finding special masks to activate, but we'll talk about that later. As a solo optional and class agnostic experience, Visions share a vibe with delves and other outdoor content. By that I mean it's not very balanced. Healers are going to have a harder time than tanks or DPS roles, and by that I mean it's going to take them longer. Some classes work better than others. Success inside Visions leans more on fundamental basics of WoW gameplay, as in, don't stand in stuff, as opposed to having perfect execution of a damage rotation or using your specific class abilities to the fullest. Unlike delves, in Visions you only have one life, at least at first. Aside from your health going down to 0, you have a sanity meter to maintain. If it runs out, it's the same as being dead, and you're kicked out of the vision and you've got to try again. Sanity slowly drains over time, which encourages you to move along, but not so much in a frantic rush as if this is like a Mythic Plus dungeon. More importantly, many enemies have certain attacks that can directly attack your sanity. You'll learn over time how enemy packs have certain synergies to them. You might get stunned for a few seconds while standing in dangerous void swirlies, so you'll be learning about dangerous mobs as well as routes to take or to avoid. But there are perks you eventually pick up to counterbalance this and to even overpower them. As you run more and more visions, you'll obtain currencies to spend on upgrades. That's what I mean by a meta progression. And as you keep playing, you'll be performing better, not just because you're learning more of the vision, but because you're getting these upgrades. Your main perk is a sanity restoration ability you can use 3 times per session. And the game will track certain stats like the number of enemies and bosses killed, and you'll gain additional perks. These will increase your sanity meter, reduce damage and sanity damage taken, it'll increase your own damage, and even give a quick refill of sanity as a kind of extra life. And later you'll develop a perk to restore sanity after defeating elite mobs, even have immunity to sanity loss, which is kind of like a Starman. You can expect a vision run to last anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes if you're trying to clear the whole thing, but at the start you'll only be able to go so far until your sanity gets low, and you should consider defeating the main boss sooner to receive credit. Also here to assist is SoulSoBreezy, who acts as a partner on the field. You can assign her the tank, the DPS, or the healer role, but she's no Bran, you are going to be doing the heavy lifting. You can opt to go it alone too, but bringing her along adds a little perk. If you happen to die or run out of sanity, and SoulSoBreezy is still alive, she'll use an available sanity charge to get you back up, as if they're another player helping you out. You can enter visions unlimited times as long as you're not going over the instance limit, which I hope they don't count towards on live realms. The accessibility of being able to go in as much as you want means it's easy to progress on some, but not all of the perk development and farm up currencies. You're encouraged to try out new routes, go for bosses or areas that you're struggling the most in, see if you're biting off more than you can chew, so it's kind of like a delve. The accessibility doesn't end there. I'll get to rewards in a moment, but from testing, all your horrific vision progression is shared across the warband, from the unlocked perks on the tree to the additional meta progression. Currencies can be traded across the warband, and later, veteran and champion gear drops from the chest can be traded to alts. A few basic quests guide you through the what's what in Visions, starting with the first time and then setting goals for you to complete. As a reward, you'll receive a choice of special head enchants that, for the most part, deals damage. You can buy more from the same vendor, and these can be traded across the warband. Other characters can buy these directly off the vendor too, the access is also shared across the warband. Let's get to rewards, like what do we get and how do we get them? Visions give goodies from two sources, the chest from the end of a run, and the vendors you can buy stuff from after meeting the requirements. We'll talk up the vendors first. As you complete, or even fail visions, you'll receive corrupted mementos to be used on upgrading your perk tree outside. Fully unlocking this tree might take a few weeks because of time gating, but once you do, it'll give you access to the cosmetic vendor, which is also outside. There are also vendors outside who sell veteran, champion, and hero track weapons because weapons do not appear to drop at the end of visions. These have increasing requirements to unlock, but once you do, not only can you buy weapons, but from the veteran and champion vendors, you can purchase an item that makes the gear from future visits to visions warbound tradable. This only works up to the champion level track, but it's still a cool way to funnel higher level gear to alts. But now we should talk about difficulty and how the rewards at the end of a vision work. Although as of this writing, my research is incomplete and it might not be final anyway, so don't think of this part as a guide, but more like an impression of what to expect. Sort of like delves, the so-called difficulty of a vision determines the item level of gear you get. Once you fully complete a vision for the first time, as in defeat all the bosses, you'll receive your first mask. Masks are like difficulty activators. They add multipliers to enemy damage and health, as well as activate an affix. The first mask you receive is called the Long Night, which cuts your sanity in half. Clearing the Orgrimmar and Stormwind visions wearing at least one mask will earn you more, and there are 3 more earned by meeting some special conditions. We'll go over the details another time, I just want to focus on giving you an idea of how the rewards work. Kind of like delves, the difficulty you select via masks will determine the level of reward you get, from the kind of crest you get to the gear track. It doesn't matter which mask is used, just the number, so you can customize your difficulty up until you want to activate all 8 at once. On screen is an incomplete and probably inaccurate chart of how this all works. Now as you can see, gear rewards peak at hero track level 4 of 6. This is after completing a vision with 5 masks active. It appears the highest difficulties are more like bragging rights with a title. As we go lower, the gear rewards go down, and clearing visions with 4 or fewer bosses defeated award veteran gear. Since there are no keys, players can dive into visions as much as they want, but there is a catch. The gear rewards can only be earned once per difficulty with a weekly lockout. When it comes to gear, the rewards cap at the 5 mask difficulty, so even if you clear with more masks, you don't even get gear, at least as of this PTR build, which happens to be a release candidate at the moment. So the current takeaway is if you want gear, run with 4 and 5 masks to get 2 pieces of hero gear. Gilded Crest can be earned from clearing high-level visions from mask levels 5 through 8, and what's more is unlike delves, this is repeatable. Here's the breakdown according to their most recent build notes. Your first clears of visions each week at the following mask levels will award this many crests. Repeat clears will give a reduced amount, and reportedly, you'll be able to do this over and over. There are 2 ways to look at this. For those who run higher level keys and raids, really there's no comparison. Doing those is a much more efficient use of their time, especially now that we're well into Season 2. For solo players though, this is a season changer. It's positioning Horrific Visions as basically delve difficulty beyond tier 11. If you're doing well, but you want to go faster and you want to power up your hard-earned hero gear and start crafting 675s, this is the path. If you look at the current rates, it's not what I would call fast. It's certainly a good idea to keep farming the available 31 gilded from delves, and visions are not easy, not until you get some hands-on experience. But after 11.1.5, the road to maxing out your gear, it's a bit smoother, it's not so rigid or time-gated. Going back to the gear chart, it gives you an idea of the relative difficulty of Horrific Visions compared to delves. It's not the best measurement, but based on my personal testing solo, yeah, I'd say after a few masks, Visions feel as hard as the toughest delves. Keep in mind though, the higher level masks, the 6s through 8s, it's mostly for the glory and the achievement of having done it solo. And by the time you're able to play at this level, you're well underway with collecting nearly all the available appearances. I'm kind of thinking out loud here, but I wonder if one of the reasons Blizzard brought Horrific Visions back, aside from the void relevance during the saga, is to set this up alongside delves and see what this audience thinks. Over the past few weeks, I've been observing what I believe to be reactions to the original Horrific Visions being dragged into the present, and while the gameplay has only changed as much as our classes have over the past few expansions, the gameplay loop, it's like this big night and day difference. Once this thing goes live, I hope the devs do a lot of listening, because it's going to inform them of what solo and small group players are looking for. Then they consider how to apply this to delves in the future. Now, I'm not suggesting they add a timer or sanity to delves, but what about a larger sprawling delve with like a dynamic difficulty and multiple bosses, where the deeper you go, the greater the challenge? Or maybe additional difficulty toggles at stage select to create a challenge appropriate enough to give maybe more Gilded Crest or some equivalent. Or how about a perk system, a kind of seasonal meta progression that replaces companions like Bran? The reception of Horrific Visions from this sort of audience is what Blizzard's probably going to listen to for the remainder of the season, and I encourage folks to speak up once they get their hands on it. But anyway, that's enough commentary. I'll have some upcoming guides where I take you into the visions themselves with walkthroughs from, handling the mobs and bosses to fun things to discover and collect. I hope this gives you a better idea of what Horrific Visions will be like, and for you veterans, the differences between then and now. And let me know what you think. Please like the video, subscribe for more WoW coverage, catch me live, and I'll catch you later. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.